Okay, so Sydney Sweeney is a nun in training, nun on the run, fleeing some kind of traumatic, mysterious past, which we don't really explore too much. She's settling into this remote Italian convent, and the longer she stays, the more apparent it becomes that most of the other nuns aren't particularly happy, because this convent has a habit of torturing and killing its nuns, especially the nuns who want to escape. And, oh no, some kind of immaculate conception happens, and now Sydney is on track to become the #1 nun. Immaculate is a pretty standard religious horror movie, but it has one very special ingredient: Sydney Sweeney. She's the rising star of the moment. She imbues any film she touches with a priceless level of mystique. But I feel like that mystique has been squandered recently. Anyone But You was really successful. It was not a good movie, but it made money. And then Madam Web happened.
Can I get you anything?
No. I have everything I need right here.
And Immaculate kind of feels like the third movie in that trilogy. It's another miscast, another strangely vacant performance. And it's clear that Sydney Sweeney can be awesome when pushed to her limits.
But I do not care. I have never, ever been happier.
But most of the time, that is not what's happening in these movies.
And we got takeout, but we didn't
Kung
know.
Pao chicken is perfect.
How'd you know?
And Immaculate mirrors that kind of weird miscalibration. It's clearly a horror movie attempting to scare the audience, but it's never quite sure of whether to go big or keep it subtle, and so it never really achieves either. Like, there's a scene earlier on where Sydney goes to bed, and then she gets woken up by a mentally unstable nun with a pair of really sharp scissors, who's snuck into her room at some point, and this nun actually makes a stabbing motion right at Sydney's head, and she manages to cut off a lock of her hair. And I don't know about you, but I would be freaked out by that whole situation. And in a horror movie, I would want that fear to infect the audience. But apparently Immaculate doesn't want that, because Sydney just calmly rises up out of her near sleep, almost as though she's heard faint snoring coming from the other room, and she quietly suggests, maybe we should get you back to bed, deranged nun. And the way the scene plays out makes me wonder whether I'm supposed to be frightened. And that's an ongoing tonal question mark. Like, there's this truly horrific, grisly death later on. This nun jumps out of a building, and you don't see it in the trailer, but they turn over her body, and her face is basically mush. And it's really horrific imagery. And Sydney just kind of takes a step back, and that's it. Another weird choice is that all the other nuns seem kind of edgy and cool and rebellious, and like they know being in this convent is a little sketchy somehow. But Sydney, who is the new guy, the new recruit, she's not accustomed to any of this. She's the only nun who is just fine with not asking any questions and looking straight ahead. And I feel like it would make way more sense and be a whole lot scarier if it was exactly the opposite of that. You know, Sydney's the outsider. She knows something really weird is going on here, but all the other nuns have this weird complacency, and they feel like they've all been brainwashed. And that might, build tension or be kind of unnerving. But again, that's not this movie. And I will say Immaculate isn't a total flop. There are one or two fun religious horror movie moments in the opening and closing minutes, and when Sydney Sweeney is finally pushed beyond her breaking point, she brings it, and it's everything the rest of the movie should have been, but it kind of happens in the last few minutes, and at that point, it's really more of a reminder of Immaculate's wasted potential than it is any kind of legitimate redemption. And when I think of the number of people to which I would say wholeheartedly go see Immaculate, I'm afraid that number is, sadly, close to none. I'm sorry. This review was originally published in a different form on MrWillWong.com. Go check it out along with many others. I'm Nikki P. I have a degree in film. Until next time.